July 26, 1945. The coast of Hokkaido, Japan. 2,300 hours. The Pacific War is in its final weeks. American planners are preparing Operation Downfall, the land invasion of the Japanese home islands. The Joint Chiefs of Staff have estimated American casualties for the first phase alone at between 130,000 and 220,000 men. Every week of delay is measured against those numbers. Every weapon that reaches Japanese soil without an infantry landing is a calculation being revised somewhere in Washington. In the darkness off the northeastern coast of Hokkaido, USS Barb rides on the surface in shallow coastal water. Her commanding officer, Commander Eugene Bennett Fluckey, is watching through the periscope. 8 members of his crew are not aboard. They are on shore, on Japanese soil, in the dark, implanting demolition charges on a coastal railway line. They have no air cover, no infantry support, no extraction plan if something goes wrong other than a rubber raft, and the assumption that 8 men can move quietly enough that a nearby Japanese garrison will not hear them. Barb has already, in the preceding 3 weeks, fired rockets onto Japanese shore installations, the first American naval vessel in history to strike the Japanese home islands from the sea. That was not enough for Fluckey. The question this moment demands, and does not yet answer, is a simple one. How did a submarine commander arrive at a mission that no submarine doctrine on Earth had authorized? And why did his entire crew fight to be part of it? The institutional logic governing American submarine operations in 1945 was not timid. It was the product of 3 years of catastrophic earned experience, and it had produced results so measurable that questioning it required more than nerve. It required evidence. American submarines had entered the Pacific War crippled by a defect that took 2 years to officially acknowledge. The Mark 14 torpedo, the standard fleet weapon, ran deeper than its depth settings indicated, and its contact exploder failed to detonate reliably on direct hits. The Bureau of Ordnance under Rear Admiral William Blandy maintained for over 2 years that the problem lay with crew technique, not weapon design. Submarine commanders were filing patrol reports documenting torpedo after torpedo striking enemy hulls and failing to explode. The institutional position held. It was not until 1943, and after extensive tests ordered by Vice Admiral Charles Lockwood, including firing torpedoes against cliff faces in Hawaii to observe exploder function, that the defects were formally confirmed and corrected. That history produced a submarine command culture that was systematically cautious about improvisation, and reasonably so. By mid-1944, the corrected weapons were working, and the results were historically unprecedented. American submarines were accounting for approximately 55% of all Japanese merchant shipping losses. Japan's oil imports had fallen by more than 50%. The strategy of commerce raiding, strangling Japanese supply lines by sinking ships, was measurably collapsing the Japanese war economy. Within this framework, the idea of using a submarine to attack shore targets was dismissed not with contempt, but with arithmetic. A surfaced submarine operating in shallow coastal water near defended shore installations is one of the most exposed platforms in naval warfare. She cannot dive below a killing depth if shallow water prevents it. A crash dive in 20 feet of water provides no protection. The loss of a fleet submarine, her 81-man crew, her classified material, her months of construction to destroy a shore depot was not an exchange the submarine force's calculus could support. Vice Admiral Lockwood's sub-pack staff, reviewing the standard risk-yield assessments, held that submarines should remain focused on maritime interdiction. The assumption underlying every element of that position was structurally sound. A submarine's weapon is the torpedo, The torpedo requires water, and therefore a submarine's viable targets require water to approach. The doctrine was not a failure of imagination. It was a conclusion drawn from 4 years of data. Fluckey intended to contest the data. Eugene Bennett Fluckey was born in Washington, D.C. in 1913. He graduated from the United States Naval Academy with the class of 1935, a class that produced a number of officers who served with distinction inside established doctrine. Fluckey served inside that doctrine too for years before he began systematically testing its edges. He transferred to submarines in the late 1930s and served as a junior officer and executive officer through the early Pacific War patrols. He took command of USS Barb in late 1943. What distinguished him in command was not a single dramatic insight, but a consistent operational habit. He studied his patrol reports as problem sets rather than performance records. When a mission failed to achieve its objective, he asked which assumption had been wrong, not which execution had been flawed. The specific instinct that explains his later innovations is visible in his Medal of Honor action. On January 23, 1945, during Barb's 8th War Patrol, Fluckey took Barb into Namquan Harbor on the coast of China, a confined anchorage crowded with a Japanese convoy and surrounded by shoal water that conventional submarine doctrine identified as prohibitively dangerous. The water was so shallow that the harbor bottom was within a few feet of Barb's keel during portions of the approach. Fluckey entered anyway. In a sustained night surface attack, Barb sank or damaged 11 vessels, one of the most productive single actions by any American submarine in the entire Pacific War. He exited through the same shallow water under fire, running at flank speed with Barb drawing 18 inches of water, more than the charted depth in places. The lesson Fluckey drew from Namquan was not that he had been lucky in shallow water. It was that shallow water which the enemy used as protection from submarine attack could be navigated if the commander was precise and the crew was prepared. Shallow water near shore was not a barrier. It was an assumption waiting to be tested. The rocket concept emerged from a practical problem Fluckey had documented across multiple patrols. The Japanese coastal shipping increasingly hugged shorelines and shallow coastal waters precisely because American submarines could not safely operate there. Valuable targets, supply vessels, troop transports, coastal infrastructure were moving in water where torpedo attack was impossible and surface gun engagement risked proximity to shore batteries. The solution Fluckey proposed was a deck-mounted rocket system, the same 5-inch spin-stabilized rockets used by amphibious landing craft, fitted to launchers welded to Barb's deck. The rockets required no water depth to function. They could be fired from a surface position and would reach shore targets at a range of roughly 1,000 yards, close enough for accuracy, distant enough to begin a dive if shore fire was returned. The resistance at Subpac was procedural rather than personal, and it reflected legitimate concerns. Welding external hardware to a pressure hull introduces structural risk points. Rockets stored on deck are exposed to saltwater corrosion and depth charge concussion on subsequent dives. No tested specifications existed for submarine rocket installations. The standard developmental timeline for a new weapons fit ran 18 to 24 months. Vice Admiral Lockwood, however, had a characteristic willingness to authorize field experimentation when a commanding officer could demonstrate both the tactical logic and a workable mechanical solution. Fluckey had both. Lockwood approved the installation. The rocket mounts were fitted at Pearl Harbor Naval Shipyard in May 1945. The system was not the product of a weapons program. It was the product of one commanding officer who had identified a gap and found a way to close it himself, with command approval. The first combat firing of Barb's rocket system took place on June 22, 1945, against shore installations at Shari on Hokkaido's eastern coast. Barb surfaced at 0220 hours in water, shallow enough that her keel was within feet of the bottom. The crew fired 72 rockets in approximately 32 seconds. Barb, submerged before Japanese shore defenses, could mount a coherent response. The results were immediately observable. Fires burned at the target site for hours afterward. The attack had taken less than a minute of surface exposure. No casualties aboard Barb. The mission demonstrated that the rocket system functioned under combat conditions, that shallow coastal water was navigable for a brief firing run, and that the exposure window was short enough to be survivable against targets without an alert air defense. If you want to follow the full arc of Pacific War tactical innovation, the gap between what doctrine permitted and what commanders actually did, this is the series that stays with those details. Subscribe now. Over the following weeks, Barb conducted additional rocket attacks against coastal targets on Hokkaido and Karafuto. Each attack refined the timing, approach angle, and target selection. By mid-July, Fluckey had established that the system was reliable and repeatable. Vice Admiral Lockwood, reviewing Barb's patrol reports in real time, authorized the rocket mount system for broader adoption across the fleet. The technical specifications developed from Barb's installation were used as the baseline for subsequent fits. The complication that nearly changed the trajectory of the program came not from enemy action, but from the limits of what a submarine's deck-mounted system could absorb. During one attack run, a launcher malfunction caused a misfire that required the crew to clear the deck under time pressure while surfaced near a defended coast. The problem was resolved, a revised firing protocol was written, and the patrol continued. It was exactly the kind of friction that opponents of field improvisation had predicted. It did not stop the program. July 23, 1945. Shibutaro, Hokkaido, 0020 hours. Barb surfaces 1 mile offshore in 24 feet of water. The crew moves to stations. 72 rockets leave the deck in 32 seconds. 12 buildings in a Japanese military staging area ignite simultaneously. Barb dives. She is underwater before the first organized shore response begins. Fluckey has now struck the Japanese home islands from the sea. No American naval vessel had done so before Barb. He is already planning what comes next. July 26, 1945. Patience Bay, Hokkaido, 2300 hours. 8 volunteers leave Barb by rubber raft. They paddle to shore and cross the beach. They locate the coastal rail line, a primary supply route running troops and materiel south toward Japan's military concentrations. They plant 2 demolition charges with a pressure-activated trigger between the rails. They return to the raft and paddle back to Barb. All 8 men are aboard and below by 0100. And then what one submarine crew accomplished on Japanese soil in a single night. With no air cover, no infantry support, and a rubber raft as their only transport, is the part of this story that most accounts compress into a single sentence. Stay with it. 47 minutes after the last man is back aboard, Fluckey, watching through the periscope, sees a Japanese troop train come around the coastal curve at speed. The train hits the charges. The locomotive derails. Multiple cars follow it off the track. 8 men had gone ashore on the Japanese home islands, the first American combatants to set foot on Japanese soil in the Second World War. They had destroyed a military train. They had returned without a single casualty. The mission had been conducted by a crew that, according to Fluckey's own account in Thunder Below, he competed harder to be selected for the shore party than they had competed for any other assignment in the war. Before Fluckey took command, USS Barb had conducted 3 war patrols with modest results. Under Fluckey's 12 patrols in command, Barb sank or damaged vessels, totaling over 96,000 tons of Japanese shipping, a figure that placed her among the most productive submarines in the entire Pacific Fleet. Loss rate across those 12 patrols, 0. One detail sits alongside those numbers without requiring interpretation. The Japanese military's assessment of the destroyed train listed the cause as unknown, because the coastline was considered too shallow for conventional naval attack. Eugene Fluckey received the Medal of Honor, 4 Navy Crosses, and the Presidential Unit Citation. He retired from the United States Navy in 1972 at the rank of Rear Admiral. He published his memoir, Thunder Below, in 1992. It remains in print. The rocket mount system developed aboard Barb was approved for fleet-wide adoption by Vice Admiral Lockwood in the summer of 1945. The Japanese surrender on August 15, 1945, 20 days after the Hokkaido shore party, meant the system saw limited further combat use. The tactical and technical data from Barb's patrols were incorporated into post-war submarine development doctrine. That doctrine, the principle that a submarine can and should be capable of striking land targets from coastal or open ocean positions, became a foundational design requirement for the next generation of American submarines. The USS Grayback, USS Growler, and later boats were built with land attack capability as a primary mission. Decades later, the Tomahawk cruise missile was fitted as standard equipment across the American submarine fleet. The 8 men who walked onto Hokkaido in the dark carried out a mission that no submarine doctrine on Earth had envisioned, authorized, or planned for. They came from a vessel built, certified, and deployed to operate underwater and destroy ships. Today, the primary weapon of the American submarine fleet is designed to fly over water, cross a coastline, and hit a target on land. The doctrine that said a submarine cannot attack on land did not change because someone argued against it in a committee room. It changed because 8 men paddled a rubber raft to a Japanese beach, planted a bomb on a train track, and came home.